Imagine being thrown into a pit by your own brothers, sold into slavery and forgotten for years, only to emerge as the one who saves them when famine comes. That's the biblical story of Joseph, and according to Cardinal Joseph Zen, the retired Bishop of Hong Kong, it's also the story of the Society of St. Pius VIII right now. Joseph figures the SSPX, Zen wrote on X this week. Joseph's brothers, Cardinal Tucho Fernández. Ruben, Pope Leo. The analogy cuts deep. In Genesis, Joseph's brothers hate him, plot to kill him, and ultimately sell him into slavery. Only later, when Egypt's granaries were the only hope against starvation, do they return to him, humbled, unrecognizable, desperate. For Zen, the SSPX is Joseph, rejected by the very institution that should embrace it, yet preserving the faith for a future when the Church may desperately need what it has kept alive. The context is explosive. On July 1, the SSPX plans to consecrate 5 new bishops. The Vatican's doctrinal office, led by Cardinal Victor Manuel Fernandez, whom Zen describes as intending to dismantle the traditions of the Church, has been installed dialogue with the Traditionalist Society, and the clock is ticking toward another 1988-style confrontation. Zen sees Fernandez playing the role of Joseph's hostile brothers. How can he not hate the SSPX, Zen asks? He will probably be happy to see them excommunicated. But then comes Ruben, the brother who, while part of the conspiracy, secretly plans to rescue Joseph and return him to their father. For Zen, that's Pope Leo XIV, the good father, concerned with unity, willing to listen, perhaps able to clarify the disputes that have festered since Vatican II. The Cardinal is walking a knife's edge here. On one side, he acknowledges that every effort should be made to avoid a schism, something that would cause serious and lasting damage to the Church. On the other, he insists that a significant issue of conscience must also be respected. How can anyone be compelled to accept teachings that clearly contradict the Church's sacred tradition? This is the heart of the dilemma for millions of traditional Catholics. They see a Vatican that seems determined to erase the liturgy they love, that elevates figures like Fernandez despite his controversial writings, that speaks of synodality while appearing deaf to those who cherish the faith as it was handed down. The SSPX now serves more than 700,000 faithful worldwide. Their bishops are overwhelmed. Without new bishops, their apostolate cannot continue. Rome refuses permission, and so they move forward anyway. For the Vatican's defenders, the situation looks different. The SSPX remains canonically irregular. Its 1988 consecrations were declared illicit by Pope John Paul II, resulting in excommunication for the participating bishops. Dialogue has continued for decades, but full reconciliation requires accepting Vatican II's teachings, including on religious freedom, ecumenism, and collegiality, which the Society has never fully embraced. Pope Benedict XVI attempted a reform of the reform, envisioning the two forms of the Roman Rite mutually enriching each other. But Pope Francis took a harder line with Traditionis Custodes, severely restricting the traditional Mass. Zen points to Bishop Athanasius Schneider's work, which argues that the post-conciliar liturgical reform diverged from what the Council Fathers actually intended. He recalls Benedict's vision, and he urges confidence in Pope Leo, who has begun catecheses on Vatican II, calling all Catholics to return to those texts. But the question remains, can Ruben save Joseph before the brothers finish their work? For Catholics watching from the pews, the pain is visceral. When the shepherds are at each other's throats, when the Vatican seems to wage war on those preserving ancient worship, when the threat of excommunication hangs over faithful priests, where does a Catholic turn? Zen's answer is subtle. He doesn't endorse schism. He doesn't condemn the Pope, but he insists that conscience matters, that tradition cannot be discarded, and those who preserve it may one day be recognized as saviors rather than outcasts. Joseph's brothers didn't recognize him when they came begging for grain. By then, he held all the power. The question hanging over the Church today is simpler. When the famine comes, who will have preserved the wheat?